I'll be honest with you. When I first played Flashback on the Genesis, I was a big fan of the marijuana, and other cool things like not going to school. Perhaps as a result of a combination of these things, I managed to play the game for hours on end without ever getting past the first stage. It wasn't that I couldn't pull it off, but just that I really, really loved the jungle. I guess I saw no reason to leave. I figure it's about time I moved on. I'm now a responsible, grown adult, and I understand that playing video games all day is about incrementally advancing and showing people on the internet how responsible and grown up I am. In Flashback, you take on the role of Conrad Hart, some sort of a secret agent in a futuristic world full of, for some reason, cavemen. While on an important mission, Conrad loses his memory and has to rediscover who he is and what he's supposed to be doing. The story is told through cutscenes activated by finding certain items or talking to people, and the premise of amnesia allows you to really get into it and identify with Conrad. He starts out just as clueless as you are. The game was released for a number of systems, but the differences between them were all pretty minor. I'm reviewing the Genesis version simply because I played it there first, and for some reason his shirt's red on every other system, and I guess I'm unwilling to accept that. Flashback plays a lot like the original Prince of Persia, mostly as a side effect of those slick, rotoscoped animations. Flashback's controls feel a little better though, and there are many more moves available to you. This isn't necessarily a good thing all of the time though, because some of Conrad's moves are so completely unintuitive that I, as a person who spent many hours of his teenage years on this game, had no idea they existed until reading up on it to put together this review. For example, you can perform a running jump up to a higher ledge by first holding down the button to activate running, pressing forward, and then releasing forward while continuing to hold down the run button before you pass under the ledge you want to grab. Things like that just feel wrong, especially when contrasted with the game's otherwise high level of realism. Expect to do a lot of experimenting with the controls early on. The reason for the wealth of moves in the game is that much of the challenge comes not from combat, but from figuring out which sequence of moves you need to use. You can look at each screen in Flashback as a level in a puzzle game, most often with only one correct way to progress. The action and story elements definitely save the game from getting monotonous, but at its core, Flashback is a puzzle game, and for the most part, it's a damn good one. I only have one real complaint. Once I triumphed and made it to the second stage, I encountered a long, tedious stretch involving missions which required me to go up and down elevators and ride subways back and forth, completing such exciting tasks as delivering packages and acquiring the proper paperwork to enable package delivery. For the most part, I was just following instructions and waiting for something to do. It's boring, it's slow, but things pick up after a couple of missions, and I'm willing to overlook it if you are. For pros, the story's pretty cool, and when the gameplay does slow down, you'll push through it to find out what happens next. For a 16-bit game, Flashback looks amazing, and the visual style really helps to keep you immersed. The level design here is great, annoying fetch quests aside. For cons, remembering button combinations is for shitty fighting games. The learning curve here is worth it, but this'll turn off a lot of people. Also, I'm reneging on our deal to overlook the fetch quest. There's never an excuse for cheap tricks like that to extend a game's playtime. Flashback is really a great game, but it's definitely not for just anybody. If you've got the patience for a good story and a keen strategic eye, as well as the general want to shoot people, this game will keep you occupied and thoroughly satisfied for longer than you think.